A great evening to you. Warm welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. To our very first story, we are learning this evening that cocoa prices are likely to go up in the coming days as Cocoa Board prepares to review its prices. The agreement for the adjustment was reached after a closed-door meeting today. Now, it is unclear the exact amount to be increased to the current selling price, but Minister for Food and Agriculture, Brian Champon, is expected to officially communicate this adjustment in the course of the week. Now, economist Professor Lord Mensah has warned the implementation of the new pricing guidelines by the National Petroleum Authority may have serious implications on the exchange rate. According to him, the import parity prices of crude oil would affect the cedi, therefore must be looked at critically before it is implemented. Already, some energy think tanks have kicked against the decision, saying it will shortchange consumers. Speaking to Joy Business, Professor Mensah urged the NPA to tread cautiously with this new directive.
What are the input or the driving forces of fuel price on our markets? Okay, so clearly we're looking at the import parity prices that we compare the cedi equivalent to the dollar. So exchange rate is feeding in there. An exchange rate is not fixed yet in this country. So all the drivers that moves the prices are not fixed. So I'm wondering, the motive behind fixing the price, or determine the minimum value that you expect the price to be, on the market. So effectively, it has a long, way effect. And if that price is not set well, there seems to be that kind of impact on the consumer. And the impact will be, the pass-through effect of, the traders who are trading on this, fuel, because they will not absorb, the excess price in case, the price should go beyond, the floor. And so, the transmission effect will be that consumers are going to bear the brunt of, price increase. And, we live in a country where we're talking about inflation here and there. And so the consumer effect will be that there's going to be likely increase in price if that floor price is not fixed at equilibrium. That is where demand and supply, price is determined. So we should expect, that the prices will react in that manner. But the worrying aspect is none of the input in determining price of fuel on our market is capped, or is determined at the floor. So why would that decision be taken by the regulator?
Meanwhile, the National Petroleum Authority has refuted assertions that its new pricing guidelines for petroleum products is not in the interest of consumers. Speaking to Joy Business, the head of economic regulations at the NPA, Abbas Tasunti, insisted that the new guidelines will rather ensure healthy pricing competition.
Exceptions as this does not allow the competition to go on. But like I mentioned, there's a formula used to set petroleum product prices. Since we started price regulation, no oil marketing company actually sets a price without a margin. So they still use this formula that we provide, and then they add their margins to it. So the floor price, as I've said, which is being set, this is to ensure that even though we are protecting consumers and deregulation has brought about the competition we need in terms of using the formula and companies having different margins, because realistically, what happens today is that the differences you see in prices mainly as a result of the variations in margins that the company set. So companies have up to, from the margin of zero up to whatever margin which is realistic for them to set their prices. But there are times when there have been concerns that sometimes when products come in through illegal means, the only way for you to sell these products are to sell them at very unrealistic prices. And sometimes these suspicions come in and they affect the industry players. Remember that this industry is a very critical one. And as long as the industry supports the economy, we have to protect it. The regulator, through our act, we are mandated to protect the petroleum service provider as well as the consumer. So our policies have brought about competition, but we also have to ensure that we don't close our eyes on some of the unhealthy competition in the industry, which can kill the business. Remember that if the oil marketing companies or the importers collapse, it sometimes has a ripple effect, or usually it has a ripple effect on the banking sector and several other issues. So we have to make sure that in as much as we are allowing competition, we also don't allow certain illegalities or certain unhealthy competition to kill the industry, which ends up coming to affect our ability to have petroleum products on the market. So you realize that the floor price, which when we start announcing them, we are going to announce them, they are going to be public. So it's not going to be a secret floor price. Yeah, because we are still using the same pricing formula which we communicate. All this to ensure that there's transparency in the market. So this is what will be allowed, will be announced, and consumers will know what the floor price is. So you realize that this is not a price that is really below what any company would have really said, but this is to ensure that those who sometimes are able to bring in products through illicit means are not able to have their way.
Away from the downstream petroleum sector, government is optimistic that it will pass the IMF second program review. The visiting IMF mission today began scrutinizing the country's performance under the fund program on the fiscal and monetary data for the last year ending December 2023. Minister for Finance, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, maintained that based on what government has done so far, the country will pass the review.
The second review of the 3-year, $3 billion IMF-supported PCPEG is to be conducted by the IMF staff this April, coming April, starting from 2nd of April to the 12th of April 2024. And this is following the successful completion of the first review of the program, which saw the disbursement of some $600 million into the economy. During the second review, the IMF mission will engage the authorities in technical and policy discussions to enable them assess Ghana's performance on program objectives. The test date for the second review is December 2023. The approval of the second review by the Fund Executive Board, possibly by June 2024, would trigger the release of the third tranche of $360 million, bringing the total disbursement so far under the program to $1.56 billion United States dollars. The second review will be the first of the two semi-annual reviews programmed for 2024, with the third review expected to come off in November 2024. And each time we are successful with the review, we will see disbursement of funds from the IMF. And this is all included in the $1.2 billion disbursement we are expecting this year, which will not only come to build our reserves, but will also strengthen our currency and also provide support for budget implementation. The Ministry of Finance is working with the Bank of Ghana in preparation for the review. Preliminary assessment undertaken by the Ministry and the Bank of Ghana shows that we are on course to meeting most of the targets under the program. I do not want to preempt this, but we are very confident that we'll be successful at the review.
But Associate Professor of Finance at Andrews University, Professor Williams Pipra, has disclosed that government may fail in some aspects of the criteria under the IMF program. He argues there are some tax handles government is struggling to implement, thereby having an overall impact on revenue mobilization. He tells Joy Business, despite the setbacks, he will score government 70% under the fund program.
Quantitative angle, they are going to look at our benchmarks based on our international reserves position as of December. Find out how Bank of Ghana has dealt with its monetary policies, and also look at how our inflation and projections have been going, whether it's in line with the target we set up in the PTPEC program. So these are going to be the major items IMF is going to look at. If you ask me, some of them we have the mixed results. Some we have positive results, some not too favorable results. At this time, we feel have also gotten agreement with our external creditors, but which is still pending.
Okay, I'm not too sure if I had your concluding sentence on that, whether or not we are going to pass this test. What did you say again?
We may pass some of the criteria, and some of them we may not, based on what has happened. We know there are some tax headlines that we have not been able to implement them fully, which has an implication on the revenue. So that when it comes to that angle, we may face. But if you look at our inflation headlines as of December, we have done better than we projected in the targets. Bank of Ghana's monetary policy rate has also been in line with the target. So that is why I say there's going to be a mixed result. But all to put it, we may have more than 70% pass because it's only the tax revenue, the one that we have not been able to implement, that's going to be a challenge.
Meanwhile, Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Ernest Addison has been giving more details about how disbursement will be done if Ghana passes the second review.
It will be based on data at the end of December. And from our assessments, we are fairly confident of the performance at the end of December and are not expecting any surprises. If the review is successful, hopefully the board of the IMF will meet by May or June. And we should expect a disbursement soon thereafter. This time, we are not expecting 700 million. This time, we are expecting just 360. So it's just about half of what we had during the last review.
Away from the IMF and its related stories, former Finance Minister Seth Tetteh has warned the government about potential fiscal leakages in the 2024 budget. He suggests that establishing the stabilization fund could have acted as a buffer against recent increases in commodity prices, thereby generating additional revenue for government.
You borrow, you must learn to pay. There's no room, whether for households, for businesses, or for government, that you can keep on borrowing and not run into trouble. Right? Which is why, we, in our collective wisdom, and I'm saying that it's not just one government or the parliament, right, decided that we should allocate some money to pay down debt. We should allocate some money, stabilization fund, so that when cocoa prices are high, gold prices are high. At the moment, gold prices are high, right? We should put some aside. It's like when you have a bonus, you don't chop all. You put some, aside because your son will fall sick, your daughter will fall sick. I mean, they are innocent, they are vulnerable. So you have something so that you don't go and borrow. And then your next door neighbor will be wondering, this month he didn't come for money. I said we were doing 4.9, 5.8, and we're doing well. Then came 2019, and the gap was identified, which was saved by COVID. And we turned out by 2021, 2022, the Bank of Ghana was financing the deficit. We were not doing well, so well after all. And I'm saying that slippage could come again if we do not generate more revenue or cut expenditure to be able to narrow the fiscal balance. That is the more important one, not the primary balance.
The National Communications Authority has indicated that a framework is now in place to license more satellite operators for internet services. This follows delays in the approval of several requests that have come in so far for the consideration of the industry's regulator. Dr. Joe Anoche is the Director General of the National Communications Authority.
NCA has augmented our existing satellite licensing portfolio to include recent broadband satellite services to provide alternative connectivity options for domestic and enterprise users. We've currently NCA have the VSAT. The VSAT satellite service has been around for many years. Several financial institutions until I believe maybe 2020 or so, even the Electoral Commission exclusively relied on VSAT to connect all the district offices. So this is a service that is still available. Having said that, the VSAT itself, the bandwidth involved is much smaller because these satellites are, we call them geosynchronous satellites. We are very way, and they look at one specific direction. Because they are very far away, the distances in terms of latency is an issue. That's why you see today, a lot of corporate entities are migrating from VSAT into, if you will, satellite broadband services. And we did not have a framework. We did not have a framework for satellite broadband until recently, when the hardworking engineering team, led by Reverend Engineer Fiancon and his team, put together one of the very important frameworks. So we are now ready. The board has approved the framework, so NCA is ready to now engage or entertain applications from satellite broadband. A few policy issues that needs to be addressed, but I believe that should be taken care of soonest. We already have one of the satellite broadband providers called OneWeb. OneWeb is actually a competitor. If you go do a search, you see they are a competitor with Starlink, but their business model might be different. But they currently have a ground station here in Ghana. They have licenses to do that. We've received application from Starlink. Now again, I told you the framework was not available.
Now, global electronic manufacturer Hire has opened an after-sales service center for customers here in Accra. The center is expected to serve as a one-stop location for all servicing Hire products purchased from CAPFAM Ghana Limited. Brand ambassador for CAPFAM, Mike Osei-Breku, has been engaged in the media during a short ceremony to unveil the center. Here's more.
According to the main distributors of Hire products, CAPFAM, it has become necessary to have an after-sales service center so customers will have some comfort in getting their technical problem fixed after purchasing the product. This center, which is located in Accra, will serve the southern sector for all Hire products purchased from CAPFAM. Here is the brand ambassador of CAPFAM, Miki Osei-Breku.
Because we are confident in the brand, we know that it lasts long. It means it's durable, it's quality. But then again, because of different situations with regards to power outages and all of that, service centers are very, very critical when you are selling such home appliances. So in that regard, Hire finds it necessary that even though we've been around Ghana for a very short time, it is important that we have a service center that if you buy the appliance and you have any issues after some time, especially when you are within your guarantee or warranty period, you can just take the appliance there and it will be repaired or replaced as the work goes on.
Hire Regional Service Manager for West Africa and Middle East, Junda Zan, disclosed that the Ghanaian market has become a flagship for the Hire products on the continent, hence the decision to concentrate on after-sales service for its customers.
Ghana market is our Hire main market, and we pay attention a lot on the Ghana market. So that's today we are holding the opening ceremony, also is from our Hire HQ to support our Ghana market. You know that Hire service is the top. It's a very high reputation in our domestic and all global, all the world.
The center will be responsible for both old and new Hire products purchased in the country.
Ghana's interest rate is currently hovering around 29%, spurring high costs of borrowing regime for domestic business. According to Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abena Moa, this puts Ghanaian businesses at a significant disadvantage compared to their foreign counterparts. She spoke to Joy Business here in Accra.
The high inflation and interest rate environment in Ghana has meant that many of our Ghanaian companies are essentially working for the banks. Our markets will never grow if our macroeconomic environment isn't right. Our fixed income market, whether it's government or corporate, won't work until we have sustainable and a low interest rate regime. Because you can't compete in Africa if you are borrowing at 30%, and your colleague in Nigeria is borrowing at 11%, or in Kenya is borrowing at 6%. Our Ghanaian institutions won't survive. And so we need low inflation, low interest rates, and sustainable for for a long period. So someone can actually come and say, I'm taking 10-year paper, and you are confident that if you give 100 cedis today, in 10 years, you come back in 10 years and it's not worth 1 cedi. But maybe if it's worth 90 cedis over 10 years, but the interest you've collected over the 10-year cycle means that your overall return in 10 years is 150 cedis. It's worth it. If we don't get this right, all of us, our contributions will look outside of Ghana, go and develop other countries' money, and there will be no jobs, there will be no employment, there will be no goods and services.
We've got international business for you now. Thanks so much for watching Prime Business with me, Pius Kojobaka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Great stories on the portal there. NPA to set price floor for petroleum products from April 1 in new guidelines. Also on that portal, new pricing guidelines issued by NPA not in the interest of consumers, ISEP saying so. Great stories on that portal. Do visit there and get yourselves updated. See you same time tomorrow. Prime Sports is next.